Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second webinar. This process worked pretty well last year, replacing a number of regional meetings we were having in Canberra, Melbourne and Brisbane. This forms part of our consultation with you, our members. It's not the only part of the consultation. We've been in conversation with you for the last couple of months, and we'll certainly continue this until we send out a draft AOP in May. What I will do is just, you've got the opportunity to ask questions, and this is the same process that we had last year. You should be able to just use the chat button that you can see on your screens. Alternatively, you can send a text into my mobile number, which somebody in the room is monitoring for us here. So those questions will be captured either online or through the text process. So similar to last year, our AOP will be driven by our strategic plan, and we'll be presenting information in line with those 7 key focus areas, being partnerships, the deed, preparedness, surveillance, diagnostics, RD&E and company health. There'll be a range of speakers. Susanna, Rod, Felicity, Michael and Sharon are with us here in the office, and Stephen Dibley will be phoning in or dialing in from Sydney. He's up there doing some industry training. Just to actually introduce a few things, the 18-19 AOP was circulated to you and approved back in May. We did conduct a mid-year performance report and we circulated that in February. We don't intend through this process to actually detail the work we've done in the start of the 18-19 year, but what we will do is a little bit of an update for those things that might have happened in the last couple of months. What I'd like to do is just give you some feedback from the member survey that was conducted last year. The results from the survey came in after we'd actually approved and had signed off on the budget and the AOP. But we thought it was worthwhile just reflecting a little bit on those issues that you thought we should be focusing on, or new things that PHA should be doing. It was interesting when we asked the question around, are there other things PHA should be doing? The majority of members just responded clearly and just said no. So whatever we were doing at the time was obviously sufficient to actually satisfy most of your needs. So these are just a list of things. A lot of these will be covered in the various presentations as we go forward. I just want to talk about a couple of them. One is the APPD, Australian Plant Pest Database. We tried to pass that off to a third party to improve the facility to all parties, but that didn't work really well. That didn't work very well at all, actually. So what we're trying to do is recover it back into PHA now, and we're probably going to be the focused organisation that can manage that probably better than anybody else. The other point I want to raise on this particular slide is the one about employing biosecurity officers. We currently have 15 or 16. They're all industry funded. They're either employed, they're employed by other parties. The B biosecurity officers and the Grains biosecurity officers are employed by state governments who are in partnership with PHA and the levy payers. And others, principally in a range of horticultural industries, are employed by the peak bodies, again, funded through industry levies. Just continuing a bit about feedback from the survey. The training requests are consistent with what happened the previous time we did this, about 3 years ago. Training, you want more training just about everything, which is really quite positive. But then we've just got to make sure we've got the capacity to actually deliver that training to you. Some of those training activities can be subscription funded, and some of them will need to be non-subscription or project funded. The other point I wanted to raise was just the last one. We ask you questions periodically about your attitude towards weeds and weed deed. Several years ago, we had a discussion with you about whether we should include weeds in the emergency plant pest response deed, and that was a definite no, because again, not all parties wanted us to include weeds in the deed. So we've explored the opportunity to create another document. This time we asked the same question in relation to weeds, and 45% of respondents supported creating some sort of weed agreement, which I thought was pretty good. But over 30%, about a third of you were uncertain, and that's probably a function of needing to consult more widely and more thoroughly about what might be included in weed arrangements. The other question we asked was one about pasture pests. This is pretty important because we just want to make sure that something doesn't pop into pastures, whether they be legumes or grasses, and then a pest or disease goes unchecked and then hops into one of our member industry commodities. So again, this was not supported, but again, it was probably an issue around consulting more widely and being a bit more specific of what we were looking for.